already. The Black Lives Matter mural, street, plaza, whatever you want to call it in DC, that was put up in a response to, I guess, the Black Lives Matter movement and a couple of things like that. They put it up, but now they taking it down. Y'all got to see this. Hold up. So, anybody who's from DC or in the DC area, you can go get yourself a rock or a broken piece of the mural for the next 24 hours to 48 hours. You can go down there yourself. Can't park on that street, but you can walk down there and grab yourself a rock of destroyed BLM stuff. If you want to commemorate whatever the hell that was. I don't even think the street was operable after they did that. Like, it totally messed up the street. But whatever. I'm gonna play the clip, and we are going to do a na at the end of this, because there's a lot to it. And once again, y'all know it's all a ploy. It is all a ploy. So let's see what we got here. So I want y'all who love the BLM movement, I want y'all to be angry right now. Get angry. At least the damn street is still functioning. All right, so this lady's getting ready to talk in a second. Hold on one second. All right, so they introduced a bill that urged the District of Columbia to rename Black Lives Matter Plaza.
I'm here because I just felt such frustration and outrage when I heard that the administration had pressured DC to take out Black Lives Plaza. When this went in, it meant a lot to a lot of people, residents of DC, but I think also to residents of the United States and to the world, that we were finally acknowledging something which has been a difficult part of U.S. culture.
So I felt it was important to come down here and just see it one last time before it went away, since, you know, the president put a mandate on her to get rid of it or he would take funding away from the district. And so
just so you know, the threat was that if they didn't remove, rename, whatever, reconstruction is what they call it. If they didn't reconstruct the plaza, that they would take federal funds away from DC. And I'm like, how you going to take federal funds away from the place where the federal government at anyway? And how much does it cost to dig up a street? It's not cheap. So who paid for that? The American taxpayer. So we paid for it to go down, and we paid for it to come up. And I'm not sure who of you in my chat was part of the decision-making on this, but I just think that our resources and time could have been spent on better things. I didn't know that the Black Lives Matter Plaza was that big of a damn problem in D.C. For those who are DCers, y'all can let me know. I don't know. I never actually saw it myself, and I had been through D.C. a few times, but I never went down there. It wasn't a big thing for me. And it was only because paint on the street don't remove blood on the street. You understand what I'm saying? And until you're removing the blood in the street, then I don't give a fuck if you paint something. Great. I've seen a million murals in cities where people have passed away and they draw, paint a mural on the side of a building. That's fun. But they decided to use big block letters to put Black Lives Matter on the thing. And here's the other part. It was on a street, and it's in yellow. So it was very confusing to people driving, apparently, because the yellow lines, they're thinking that it's either a parking thing, or if you don't know what it is when you drive up on it, you might not know that this is not some type of a caution tape. This is a word, because it's 3 blocks long. So, or 2 blocks long. But the point is, people didn't like it. And the reason why they didn't like it was for a few reasons. One, like I said, it was kind of confusing to folks driving over it. 2, it messed up some traffic in the area, but DC traffic is shit every day, all day, so I don't know what they're talking about with that. But most importantly is, what was Black Lives Matter even about? So we're going to get to that as soon as I let this broad-shouldered young lady finish her point. She got a nice little polo long sleeve tee on. That's nice. I like that joint. Something I would wear. She probably got my size on too.
I mean, she had to make a decision on behalf of her community, you know, and the city and the district. And I don't fault her for that, you know. We don't want the district to be defunded.
I'm frightened. This administration frightens me. It seems
what you got to be scared of?
Very prejudiced against people of color, against the LGBTQ community, against women who don't fall into line, actually against anyone who doesn't fall into line with what they want. And that's very frightening for a government that has always
just painted over it. But then
at least acknowledge that there are differences in our country.
Let's destroy the whole thing. Let's dig the whole street up. Let's get a whole contracting company out here. Let's close the roads. Let's do all of this to get rid of a BLM mural. Let's get the police out there. Look at this. Hold on. So I got to read the caption if y'all can't see it. The plaza was created in 2020 following the murder of George Floyd, a black man killed by a white police officer. Here's the thing, guys. A lot of people had different. Initially, Black Lives Matter was cool. I'm not even gonna lie, it was cool. But then they started digging into it. Then Candace Owens got a hold of it. And she did a whole movie on it. I think it was called The Greatest Lie Ever Sold or something like that. I keep telling y'all, don't play with Candace. Y'all can say what you want about her. She does her damn research, man. And then if you can't refute the research, you got to shut the hell up and just take what she's saying. And she went all the way. She went to the People House that started BLM. And they had some nice houses. They had like 6 different $1 million houses and all that. So they came up on the backs of BLM and the riots and all that kind of stuff. And then it turned out, you know, that George Floyd, like a lot of people, had underlying health conditions. And now they talk about pardoning the guy that was on his neck. It's just stupid. But the point I'm trying to make is they could have made a mural for black people without having to make it in honor of the George Floyd situation. Niggas been under scrutiny and getting killed for years. So it wasn't necessary. At the time, what it was a pacifier because people were pissed and they were rioting and they were doing all this kind of stuff. People were pissed off. So I guess the government at the time said, you know what? We can calm black people down by giving them something to look at. Because that's how we are. We're very, if we got something visual, then all of a sudden we're happy. We got a statue somewhere. Hey, forget everything else that's going on. Forget the fact that we still not getting our education together and our families are shit. Hey, we got Martin Luther King statue though. We're statue people. And that's because initially there wasn't no statues of black people. There was no like historic monuments of black people in America. There's no black person on Mount Rushmore. There's no, you know what I'm saying? So they figured out, hey, every time black people get upset, you give them something to look at. And while they're looking at it and they calm down, we can go do some other stuff. So they took all this time, all this money to build this thing. It took weeks. Traffic was shittier for weeks for them to build this thing just to tear it down and threaten federal funding. Like, come on, man. Why threaten federal funding? So they don't have a choice but to take it down. That's not an option at that point. You're DC. DC, obviously, it's not even a state. So they definitely need federal funding. It's the District of Columbia. So the second they say, hey, we're going to take the federal funding, and I'm not even sure what the federal funding is for, but it's still part of the United States, so they have to fund certain things. So I don't know what they're talking about. And personally, I believe that, like my man Al Bond said in the chat, that it's all smoke and mirrors. Like, how you going to just take money away from D.C.? You in D.C. So when you can't get to work because the roads are screwed up, because you didn't put the federal money in the infrastructure, because it's not a state, who are you going to blame? So no, they weren't going to cut 8 off of DC. They're just telling you all that because they want us to think that, they had no choice. They had no choice. They could have just wrapped it up into the whole we're getting rid of DEI and the street was a diverse and equitous and inclusive street and we have to do away with it. But what they have proposed, and I'm going to see how this turns out, instead of the Black Lives Matter mural, they're going to do a 250th commemorative mural of the 250 years of the United States being in existence or being a union, or whatever you want to call it. And the thought is that they will intertwine multiple cultures. You'll probably see Martin Luther King in there somewhere. They always put Martin Luther King and stuff. So they'll put MLK in there, probably a couple of singers, Nina Simone, stuff like that, and just paint a bunch of faces. It'll look like the Midnight Marauders cover from Tribe Called Quest. Y'all youngins don't know about that. But Midnight Marauders was an album and had a bunch of faces on the cover. And it'll probably look like that, which will also look like mugshots. But we'll see. We'll see what they'll do. So I'm going to let them finish their little 3-minute clip here, and then I'm going to close it out, and then we're going to get up out of here. But I just want y'all to keep in mind, the whole thing followed the murder of George Floyd as if there wasn't already some shit going on that we could have created a mural for. Are you meaning to tell me that until 2020, that black lives did not matter? Or are you telling me that since 2020, black lives matter more because this mural was put down? I don't know. I don't think so. I think we're still at the same place. Personally, I don't think the mural changed anything. I don't think the George Floyd riots changed anything. And I know early in the joint, y'all heard about the George Floyd Act, which was a troll, but it was very interesting how the guy put it together. A guy named, I can't think of his name right now. It's a white dude. But, what is his name? Forget it, doesn't matter. So, let me let them finish up so we can close out. The digging is maybe they'll just refill the holes and then paint over the rest of it. The digging is to get those posts out the ground that have lights. There was these posts on the ground that would lit up, I guess, from under them for the plaza, and that's what they're digging up right now. I don't know if they're necessarily going to dig up the whole street, but I'm going to say this because a lot of people told me that when people started getting deported, that construction work would no longer be able to be done. I'm going to let y'all know something. This decision just happened last week. They just said last week that this was happening, and now it's happening. They didn't even wait like a couple weeks. They said as soon as Black History Month is over, because we don't want these niggas to get too mad. As soon as Black History Month is over, let's go take that thing down. And you're right, Al. The money was already spent to put it down. They just didn't want to look at it no more. And why did they not want to look at it anymore? Was it because it was a reminder that black lives do actually matter? Or was it because it was a reminder of the debacle that became Black Lives Matter? That part I don't know. So for me, because I did find out a bunch of people just came up off of it and really nothing changed, no legislation was changed, no new acts were enacted in regards to black people. The same consent decrees they've been given for police departments in Memphis and Baltimore and blah-da-da-da. They've been doing that. So the whole movement was really a waste of time and money and resources. And they had the whole government in on it, to the point where they changed the whole street in D.C. that they now have to dig up 4 years later. And I'm not in construction, but I know how much it costs to dig up my driveway, and it's not cheap. So who signed off on this project without anybody saying that there was possibly waste and fraud and abuse? It seems wasteful to me. I think that it should have been down further on the list of things to get done. And I'm curious to know, like, what the real justification was for it. Because if it was just, you know, if it's what I think it is and what Al Barnes says it is in the chat, they just didn't want to keep looking at the big-ass Black Lives Matter. Like, all right, we get it, is how they were feeling. And they decided that it was time for it to come down. It was time for it to be over with. But was it really? Did we really have to do that right now? Can I get my $5,000 back, yo, that y'all was talking about? That's all I'm saying. I hope it didn't go into this project. I hope it didn't go into this project. I want my money. Elon and them got everybody pumped up talking about there was money. And I'm seeing money get spent, but not getting sent, if that makes sense. I'm still waiting on my tax returns. Hopefully that happens correctly and they don't take that and put it into destroying some mural. But here's the thing, man. The question I ask is, where's the line, right? I'm not going to lie. I'm okay with the fact that they moved or are rebuilding this, only because I believe that the original Black Lives Matter painting was just boring. Like, it didn't have enough color to it. It was big yellow letters everywhere. It just kind of looked stupid to me. I just think they could have done more with it. And hopefully they decide to do more with it this time around. I'm hoping. I don't know. But I just want to know, do you guys feel upset, excited, or indifferent that the Black Lives Matter Plaza was taken down? Me personally, I don't care, because I want my money. And I'm tired of watching them just... I got 10 potholes in D.C. I could have recommended to fix before digging up this damn street. So D.C., we got to get it together. Wherever y'all at, D.C., we got to get it together. People are not trying to be reminded that Black lives matter. And I don't know if it's the reminder of the fact that black people matter, or if it's the movement Black Lives Matter that enriched a whole bunch of lesbians and LGBTQs. That in and of itself leaves a sour taste in my mouth. So it's kind of like you're commemorating something that wasn't really what we thought it was. Similar to Columbus Day. We used to celebrate Columbus Day as the discovery of America. Then we found out later the dude was drunk. He thought he was in India. Like so he accidentally got to someone else's place and then brought his boys over later and destroyed it. Well, not destroyed it, but took over it. And we were celebrating that a drunk man did that. So one day somebody said, hey, I don't think we should be celebrating that because it led to the slaughter of millions of Native Americans. And, you know, he wasn't even trying to come over here. And so we stopped celebrating Columbus Day as a full-fledged day off from school type holiday. It's still technically a holiday. But I think they renamed it to Indigenous Peoples Day now because of the fact that he was drunk and messed up and ended up over here in the U.S. So this is my thing. Black Lives Matter as a statement is just words. But for Black Lives to matter, there is action that needs to be taken. And that action isn't changed or aided by them digging up the sidewalk. That's not going to make people more sensitive to black people or less sensitive. As a matter of fact, it was a total waste. Like we said, we could have just painted over it. Like, a lot of this paint stuff, they have a way of removing it. They just strip it. You see the shit they do on the highway. They strip it down, and then they redo the surface, which is all they're going to have to do over here. They're just going to redo the surface, and then they'll do some new painting. But I want y'all to understand that black lives do matter, but Black Lives Matter made it so that people think the term Black Lives Matter is a scam. So if you wear a shirt that says it, if you say it in public, any of that, they're like, oh, that's a scam, because that's all we're going to remember about it now. We're going to remember it was a scam, and we're going to remember that George Floyd was on fentanyl, and, you know, because the story has now changed from what it was when they first broke it on the news. So, guys, They seem to be purging what they call the BS. They believe that Black Lives Matter Plaza, as it stood, was some bullshit. And they have now dug it up. And I didn't see nobody other than that old white lady down there protesting. The black lady came down. She said, well, I just wanted to see it one more time before they took it away. She wasn't down there to argue the point. That one old white